Wow, so it looks like the Eagles could be on the verge of another insane move, as we just got a huge report that the Birds could be looking to sign another one of their top players to a massive extension very, very soon. Plus, it's officially draft week, and with that, the Eagles and Howie Roseman are looking to be aggressive by trading up in the first round, and according to reports, it seems like they could be targeting a position which they haven't gone after early in the draft in a long time. So, what are all the best options for the Eagles at this position, and who would be a good fit for them? Well, we're going to talk about all that and all the other latest Eagles news in this video today, so let's not waste any time, and we'll get straight into it. Okay, so let's start off with something that's pretty positive, as we know that Jalen Hurts is obviously a very good and oftentimes great player when he's on the field, but off it, he's also very clearly a great person, as he always tries to make an impact on his community any way that he can, and most recently, Hurts actually drew some media attention by making a very generous donation, specifically giving $200,000 to the Philadelphia School District to install new air conditioners in 10 different schools, which is going to help out tremendously for them. So just what a great gesture by Jalen Hurts. I mean, I always think it's just so awesome when athletes get involved and give back like this, and for the face of the Eagles franchise to do this for the city and the kids in the city, I think is pretty awesome. And Jalen also got to speak at the school, and he had some pretty nice and encouraging words as well.
When I come to this school and I come visit you guys and get in, I see so much potential, so much opportunity. I see so many beautiful spirits in these young kids here, and I see kids with big dreams.
You gotta love Jalen, man. I mean, he's just one of those athletes that's also a pretty great role model at the end of the day, so drop a like down below for that. Now, adding on to the positive news, we also just got a massive report from Jake Rabati of the Liberty Line regarding star receiver A.J. Brown, as of course, we know that when A.J. is in the news, it's usually a negative thing because the media just loves to create unnecessary drama involving A.J. when there's literally nothing there. I mean, most recently, it was him switching his profile pictures on social media to Tom Brady that caused the media to start rumors that A.J. all of a sudden wants to be traded to the Patriots or somewhere else before AJ himself came along with the Eagles to shut those rumors down. With reports coming out that teams have called the Eagles with proposed AJ Brown trades, and the Birds have turned away every single one of them, saying that AJ just simply is not available for a trade. So, I mean, honestly, this should have just been obvious in the first place. Like, AJ is arguably the best player on the Eagles team right now, and he's coming off the two best seasons of his career with the Birds while having great chemistry with Jalen Hurts, DeVonta Smith, and the rest of the offense. So, this is a guy that you clearly want to keep around for a long time. However, there are definitely concerns moving forward with his contract situation because of the fact that for the 2025 and 2026 seasons, AJ's cap hits are set to be ridiculously high, with 2026 reaching over $40 million. So some people have speculated that those massive cap hits would eventually force the Eagles to trade him. But apparently, the Eagles are working towards another solution, as after the Eagles signed 3 other franchise cornerstones to massive contracts, it seems like AJ could actually be next, with Jake Rabati reporting, quote, "The Eagles very well could look to extend AJ Brown, and it could come as soon as this offseason. Brown's cap hit rises exponentially the next 2 seasons and doesn't have a ton of guaranteed money over the next 3 seasons. Makes sense for both sides and something they'll seriously look into." Now, Rabati has been right a lot this offseason when it comes to reporting Eagles news, including the Brandon Graham signing and the Jordan Mailata extension, so I trust him, and this news is obviously incredible then. I mean, AJ is a guy that needs to be an Eagle for life. He's one of the best receivers in the league, and just that core of him, Jalen, and Smitty could be scary for NFL defenses for a long, long time. So hopefully that extension gets done as soon as possible, and just stating the obvious again, this potential extension is something Eagles fans surely love to hear. And something else the Eagles fans are going to love to hear in addition to that is the fact that it seems like the newly extended DeVonta Smith has been in the gym this offseason, as legendary former NFL wide receiver Chad Johnson just claimed that skinny Batman may not be so skinny anymore, as on his podcast with Shannon Sharp, they were discussing Smitty's recent extension, and Ocho claimed that DeVonta has put on some serious weight this offseason.
We about 180, 190?
DeVonta ain't never seen 180.
No,
DeVonta, I guarantee you, DeVonta can come right now, look through my keyhole with both eyes. I'm just saying. I'm just saying, Ocho. I guarantee you.
Hold on, chill. You ain't seen him lately. He been in the weight room. He about 190 right now.
Look at. Hey,
I'm telling you, he about 190.
He probably about 165, 163.
Nah, I'm telling you, he done put on some weight this offseason. He done bulked up. I guarantee you, when you see him this year, you be like, "Damn, boy, you been working." He about 190. I kid you not. You'll see.
Now, this is definitely not any type of official report from Ocho Cinco. I just more so honestly just think it's Chad talking, because Smitty was listed at 170 last season, so a 20-pound jump in muscle in that period of time is pretty impossible. And DeVonta himself actually retweeted the report, kind of laughing along with Ocho, but I'm sure there is also some validity to this statement. Like, I'm sure DeVonta has been working out really hard and probably has put on some size. I just think the 190 claim's a little bit crazy, but it definitely wouldn't surprise me if he did put on some muscle. And again, if he did, that's awesome, because it's only going to help his game and specifically his ability to play through contact and break tackles, because if he's doing that, I mean, that only makes him harder to stop. But speaking of Smitty, Smitty, it's officially draft week, which brings me back to when the Eagles selected DeVonta in the first round back in 2021, which if you'll remember, the Eagles traded up in front of the Giants, actually with the Cowboys, to make Smitty an Eagle. And speaking of that, trading up has become something that is very common for Howie Roseman to do in the first round of the draft. I mean, in fact, he's done it the past 3 years. In 2021, it was for DeVonta Smith. Then in 2022, Howie moved up a couple spots for Jordan Davis. And then just last year, he moved up one singular spot in a trade with the Bears to land Jalen Carter. So with Howie making it a yearly tradition to move up in the draft, could we potentially see him go ahead and do it again? Well, it certainly seems like we're trending in that direction, with Adam Schefter reporting recently that Howie Roseman has already started calling teams to talk about potentially trading up in the first round once again. And it was also revealed what position the Eagles may be targeting in a trade, with John Clark saying, quote, Eagles GM Howie Roseman has been calling other teams about moving up in the first round of the NFL draft, and teams believe he is interested in getting a cornerback. This is according to Adam Schefter. Howie does this every year and has deals in place in case a player he wants is there and he wants to trade up in the draft. He traded up in recent years to get Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, DeVonta Smith. So overall, I think that this report is pretty awesome. I mean, number one, just talking about trading up in general, it's just cool to get an inside look into how these front offices actually operate and how prepared Howie and the Eagles are in identifying which players they really want and just setting up certain trade scenarios with other teams in the case that the players they do want are there at certain points in the draft. I mean, I just think that that's really cool. But the other part of that report that is also very intriguing is that the Eagles seemingly are considering moving up to get a cornerback specifically, and that's a move that I'd really like because one, I think the Eagles, regardless of whether or not they would start this potential first round corner this year or not, I mean, they just need to get a cornerback for the future because Slay and Bradbury are both on the older side, and even if both of them do end up starting this year, you still want to have a guy that you can develop behind them on the roster. But then there's also the possibility that the Eagles decide to move on from Bradbury, and then whoever you draft may end up getting the starting job this season. So I obviously don't know exactly what's going to happen, but regardless, I do think cornerback is a position of need and something they should definitely heavily consider going after early in this draft. I mean, regardless of the Eagles' recent draft history at this position, Howie Roseman definitely knows the importance of it, as he said this at his press conference just last week when he was asked about his draft history at corner and how he views the position.
Obviously, corners are a huge part of playing defense in the National Football League right now. We always talk about affecting the passing game, and just like on offense, we talk about the offensive line and having skill guys. We talk about the defensive line and having guys who can cover on the outside, on the inside, and how much that helps you. Obviously, 2 years ago, I think we were number 2 in pass defense, and we had two guys who, one was a second team. We were number 1. Thank you, Ruben. We had Slay made the Pro Bowl, and James was a second team All-Pro. And I think that that just goes to show, how important that is to playing good defense. So. Always, I felt that's a priority. Obviously, when you give those numbers, those are compelling. We found different ways, and really going back to me being here, and even as a personnel director, we have signed some Pro Bowl caliber corners or traded for Pro Bowl caliber corners. So we've kind of probably done it a different way, but. Yeah, you're right. Obviously, those numbers are what they are.
So with that clip combined with the recent reports, it's seeming more and more likely that the Eagles could go corner in the first round. But if they do end up doing that, then what are their best options? Well, there's a ton of options if the Eagles do in fact choose a cornerback in the first round, and the first one that I'm going to talk about is someone whose name I've brought up briefly a couple times very recently, and that is Alabama's Terrion Arnold, who is one of the top 2 cornerback prospects in this year's draft class, and he's arguably the top prospect, so no matter which way you look at it, he'd definitely be an exciting addition to this Eagles team. I mean, this is a guy who possesses the ability to take the football away, as well as to be a safety at the NFL level. Now, the downside to Arnold is that he's not great in zone, he's average at best, and that's definitely not great because Vic Fangio is going to heavily utilize different zone coverages in his defense, but the good thing is that he's developed in that area quite a bit since his first year, plus he has the physical tools, so the potential is definitely there, and if the Eagles do pick him, I wouldn't be surprised because the Eagles had a top 30 visit with him, and I definitely would not be mad at that pick at all, because at the end of the day, Arnold is a great player, and he'd be awesome to get for this Eagles defense. Although I won't lie, I think if I had to pick one corner for the Eagles to draft, I think it'd have to be Toledo's Quinyon Mitchell, who's ranked as the top corner in this year's draft class by many, and that's for good reason, as Mitchell is a super athletic and physically talented guy who also has great versatility in the sense that he's very good in both man and zone coverage, although his ability in zone is particularly great, which that's just perfect for the Eagles because, again, Vic Fangio is going to heavily utilize a variety of zone coverages, so Mitchell would fit in great with that, plus he also has fantastic ball skills and great field vision, so overall, I just absolutely love this addition. The Eagles almost certainly would have to trade up to get Mitchell, but judging by that report, it sounds like the Eagles are likely to make a move up anyway, so I definitely keep your your eye on him as a name to watch for the Birds, and that's on top of Arnold because Daniel Jeremiah recently said that he wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles were to trade up for either Arnold or Mitchell. But that being said, there's definitely still other guys at the cornerback position that would be exciting additions for the Eagles. And one name that keeps being brought up is Iowa's Cooper DeJean, as he met with the Eagles multiple times in the pre-draft process, including a top 30 visit. Now, he's a guy that has drawn different opinions from Eagles fans, with some praising his versatility, as he's a guy that can play a number of different positions in the secondary, including safety if need be, as well as his elite athleticism, good ball skills, physicality, and also just his natural zone ability, which would fit in well to the Eagles defense. But then there are also some people concerned about his ability to translate as a pure cornerback to the NFL level. There's also some questions regarding his change of direction and fluidity, as well as his health, as he's coming off a pretty serious injury. So I'm interested to know what you guys think. I personally would not be upset if the Birds picked him, but the other options are obviously intriguing, and the concerns with him are also valid. So you guys can give me your thoughts down in the comments. Now, another guy who I've seen brought up as a potential option for the Eagles is Clemson's Nate Wiggins, as this is a guy who possesses elite speed, as he just ran a 4.28 at the combine, and he's also a very good cover corner that can be utilized both in man and in zone very effectively, and he definitely also be a good addition to this Eagles defense. Now, the concerns with him are a slight frame as well as his tackling, as he isn't the greatest when it comes to that, plus his change of direction has also been brought into question, but his upside and ability is definitely there. So overall, I think I'd like this pick as well. And then you have Alabama's Kool Aid McKinstry, who the Eagles also just had a top 30 visit with not too long ago, and I like him too because he's got great physical tools, including good length, and combine that with his good instincts and ball skills, plus his great zone coverage ability, as well as his physicality, and that definitely makes him an exciting prospect and someone else who I'd be very excited about the Eagles adding to their defense. Now, he, like all these other guys, does have his weaknesses, but I'd still like if the Eagles picked him, and again, we gotta remember that none of these guys are finished products coming out of the draft. Now, on top of all those guys, there's also even more prospects that the Eagles could look at cornerback heading into the draft, so you guys can let me know if there's anyone else you'd like to see them target or which of these guys you hope the Eagles take. Plus, there are still plenty of other players at different positions that the Eagles could draft too, so it's definitely going to be interesting to see what they do and whether or not they trade up, but I do know for sure that the draft is going to be very interesting, and they'll wind up getting some difference makers for sure. Now, I'm going to be covering the entire draft just as well as the rest of the Eagles offseason, so if you don't want to miss any of that, make sure you subscribe, and also really importantly, turn on notifications so you're notified instantly when any one of these videos are uploaded. Also, while you're at it, make sure you drop a like to show some support and leave a comment down below just regarding anything that I talked about in this video, and if you want to watch another Eagles video, you can check this one out right here. Now, with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys, so thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.